To all who come, welcome. Disney is a time machine that takes us back, connects us together, and shows us that not even wishing upon a star ever gets old. Now come sit with your friends Jonelle, Sean, and Megan as we deep dive into the heart of Disney.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the last episode of 100 Dalmatians, our series, ending with Cruella.
And the last episode of season 2.
Dos.
Yes.
Deux.
After today, we will still come out with episodes throughout the summer with Jonas mostly, but we're going to be taking a break from our usual movies and stuff, starting up what would be season 3 in the fall. So that being said, we're finishing off 101 Dalmatians with Cruella, like Megan said. So, Megan, you've seen this more than once.
I've seen this, I think, twice.
Your initial thoughts on this movie?
I remember, okay, listen, I used to watch a lot of commentary YouTubers on movies specifically because I thought I wasn't very smart.
Mm-hmm.
I am smart, I just don't know the ways of cinema, and I was told that Cruella was a bad movie. Like a really bad movie. But here's the thing. Now that I've watched more movies, I can tell you, to be completely honest, Cruella is not a horrible movie.
You're just saying that because you've seen Snow White.
I've seen Snow White, the live action, and I still want Disney to pay me for my 2.5 hours I wasted in the cinema.
If you haven't known by now, we hate that movie.
I had a nightmare about watching it last night with Rachel Ziegler right next to me. And what's her name? Gadot?
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot on my other side, and they were death glaring each other, and we were at a press conference, so people were recording us, and I was just sitting there
this was a dream?
This was a dream. Yeah. And I was like, oh.
But
yeah, no.
But anyways, with Cruella,
I have so many mixed thoughts and opinions on it that I can't wait to get into. What about you?
So for me, first impressions, because this was my first time watching it, it makes me angry in so many fronts. It makes me so angry, especially when we've spent the last month, over a month now, watching all the different movies that are in the 101 Dalmatians franchise.
Canon. Yeah.
I'll say franchise, not necessarily canon.
Yeah.
And so to see this movie made me highly disappointed and angry over their approach to this story, especially it be supposed to be a villain origin story. So, what was you in terms of positive parts of the movie before we dive into the nitty gritty on why it was bad? What were some positives for you in the movie?
Okay, listen, we have watched a lot of Disney remakes.
A lot, yes.
And a lot of Disney, we're trying to make that human a better person. Such as Maleficent.
We haven't touched on Maleficent yet, but personally, yeah, we've had a lot of conversations.
We've had a lot of these conversations. I feel did they redeem Cruella as a character?
Yeah.
No. But I do think when it comes to movies that Brandon broadened the horizon of the series that they're supposed to be in, Cruella isn't the worst.
You're not wrong.
I feel as a movie series, it's a really hard, they tried to hit the ball out of the park. They got it into the fail zone and I'm trying to do a baseball analogy, but my only baseball knowledge is from Mario Super Sluggers on the Wii.
They got it outside the baseline, yeah.
Yeah, they got it outside it wasn't awful and they could try again, but it wasn't a complete dud.
That's fair. For me, some positive parts I will give this movie is that I did appreciate the more familial relationship between Cruella, Horace, and Jasper.
Yes.
And
that one random guy at the end.
Yeah, the butler guy, yeah.
And Artie.
Artie was all right.
I like Artie. He's my favorite character.
I did like the butler guy. I found it interesting how they tied Anita in, because we've always known that Anita and Cruella have had
some history.
Yeah, exactly. They had history together, so I found it
not history class, but they were in school together. It's a joke. I'm funny.
I did appreciate how they. I found it interesting, not necessarily appreciated, how they went about establishing that relationship. Although it was odd having that break of time for them, and then I will say that costume department I'll say they went out of the park on this one.
I think that there's two lenses I have to look at this movie through.
Mm-hmm.
There's like the 101 Dalmatian like lens, and then there's the other side of the coin that's like fashion.
Or like looking at the movie for what it was.
And no, let me put it on like the fashion side, because Sean and I were talking about this briefly. Fashion has always been linked to some sort of rebellion, especially women's fashion. Like now,
a lot of social norms and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, fashion is often linked with rebellion. And I thought it was interesting that Disney decided that that's what Cruella was going to be about. Was like, she was they went with the woman who loved furs to being a fashion designer, which we saw in like 101, the original live action, but they took it to a whole different level in Cruella.
Yeah.
And I don't hate the idea of Disney doing a live action, as in just a live action movie, not animated, about fashion and rebellion. But I do not agree with having it be Cruella, the character.
Yeah. See, you bring up two different lenses. The two lenses I have to look at it through are from the 101 Dalmatians franchise.
Yep.
And then as we try to do when we talk about movies on this podcast is like trying to look at the movie for what it is as a standalone movie.
Yes.
Like because we've run into a lot of situations where if we hold on too dearly to the source material and we judge it just based solely off of that, we lose sight of a lot of other aspects that deserve to be appreciated, like the fashion and costume departments for this movie, because they went out of the park with the design on this movie.
One of my least favorite episodes is an episode where, I'm not going to say who, but one of the three of us would not give the movie a chance because of their already views from outside of the movie.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair to the people who worked on the movie.
Yeah, and that's something we even said with Snow White when we talked about it. Like
we really tried to hand flowers.
We hate that movie to no end.
Yeah.
But like we still acknowledge like all those other departments that go into making the movie. And with Cruella, costume went out of the park.
Yeah. And makeup.
Makeup went out of the park, and
the cinematography,
but also I was thinking more around like background and special effects.
I love the effects of like, because Anita was like a journalist, and like we would see the news articles like pasted in. I thought that was such a cool effect.
Yes.
It seemed like the people making this movie actually had fun.
It looks like they had fun, and they tried really hard to keep it cohesive. And while this, like, even the specific, like, let's say costuming, for example, it wasn't what we necessarily would have wanted given the source material. Given what the movie was, they did really well at what they were trying to do, which I think is different than when we look at, like, Snow White as an example, because the costume department, like, they tried to make her original dress, but it just wasn't quite there because the rest of the movie was just off. Like, they did their best with what the movie was.
Yes.
But it just didn't hit that same standard, whereas this one, it felt more cohesive as a movie.
Yes. Sorry, my brain went down a different rabbit hole. Now I have to, like, pull it back. Yeah, this movie felt like there was more joy into it. Watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the live action, felt like a slog. It felt like being dragged through a pit of mud in the middle of a rainstorm.
Why?
Just why? Why did I exist? Why did I spend money on this movie?
I was making a joke over the whole huntsman scene.
Yes, why? Why? But with Cruella, it felt people like enjoyed it. I could tell the actors actually mostly enjoyed their roles. I feel like Emma Stone. I'm sorry, I almost confused her with Emma Watson, and people would have murdered me.
Well, not also to be confused with a third Emma that is in this movie.
Look, I'm already bad with names and faces.
We have Emma Stone, who's Cruella, and then Emma Thompson, who plays the Baroness.
Well, both Emmas did great, and you could tell that they enjoyed what they were doing.
They definitely did. And while I don't necessarily agree with the decision, I appreciated how much Emma Stone really was able to capture the weird dissonance that was Cruella versus Estella.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes.
And the Baroness, it was a unique character, I'll give it that much.
Hey. Hey, Nova.
But I don't know. I wish for a few more things when it comes to her character.
Okay, I want to talk about the bold fashion statements. Hi,
Mhm.
for a moment. Sorry, cat butt in my face.
The ones by Cruella,
The ones that were Cruella that were in the montage.
like the trash bag one.
The trash bag dress
Or-
and like the makeup that said the future.
Mhm.
And I mean there were other ones.
Yeah.
I want to like those garments. Because they have such a fashion, not even just like a fashion statement, but just like a statement on culture.
Yeah.
And surrounding it. But the problem is, it would have held a bunch more punch and like made a more impactful statement if we were allowed to really linger on those moments a little longer.
I think.
And I know why they didn't, but I'm saying in a different movie where they really focused on fashion being rebellion, that those pieces would have had more impact. Because the impact they're supposed to be they're making in the movie is I'm outstaging the Baroness.
Yes.
But the pieces themselves are already something that an artist, being the fashion artist, created, and it has like such statement about our culture. You know what I'm saying?
I do, and it makes me think about I think I'm sure you know, early 2010s, there was a big environmentalism kick,
Yes.
especially around trash in the water and things like that.
Yes.
The sea turtles.
Look, I was one
And-
of those kids who started crying once because my mom threw out a trash bag.
Well, I
with sea
remember
turtles.
this episode of Sweet Life on Deck that came out. There's a reason for this. And Cody had lost his mind because he was a towel boy. And
Mhm.
people would be constantly using towels for the small thing. Think a full bath towel, but for simply just wiping your nose. And he would he eventually just lost his mind over the waste and actually pulled up a bunch of trash and stuck it out on the sky deck because to show the endless waste that is
Mhm.
going on the ship. And they made a big deal about it. And it's those moments where it's similar to that big trash dress or the one where she had all those thrown away dresses stitched together,
Mhm.
where it's it's a statement piece. It's meant to have the conversation, but they threw it in there
In a montage.
in a montage so you would see it, but they didn't dwell on it.
That's what I was saying about
Yeah.
if this was, I don't want to say a better movie
Mhm.
because I would give it a C. It's a passing grade. There was just things I wish they would expand upon.
Yeah.
But in a movie that was more about fashion being rebellion versus trying to redeem Cruella as a person, that would have been an even bigger statement and more people would have been talking about it.
Yeah. And I think also with this movie, something I appreciate about it, granted, small note here, I appreciate it, but I also have a huge issue with it, of how they did try to really set up the original 101 Dalmatians, and at the same time, there were certain parts where they paid homage to it, like that clip where the TV was playing and you heard an actress on it, and could tell immediately from the voice that it was the original Cruella voice.
I'm just gonna say that Enchanted did it better.
What do you mean?
Isn't that the one with Amy Adams?
Yeah.
And they had the old school television
Yeah.
with a princess playing.
It was a soap opera that had the actress who played Belle.
I'm just saying, Disney did it better years before this came out.
It was the exact same thing. I don't see how you can say they did it better when it was the exact same thing.
I'm just saying that Disney reused its ideas.
What I mean why I say I appreciate it is because Enchanted was meant to be a joke and have just packed full of Disney references. With each live action movie that's come out with Disney, lately at least, they've always had subtle references to the original actresses.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the live action Mulan, the original voice actress for Mulan was one of the emperor's peoples or whatever
I think
at the end.
yeah.
In Little Mermaid, they did have Jodie Benson there to, give her a fork as like a symbolic like passing
Of the
the torch,
of the dingle hopper, if you will.
Exactly. Here they had like that voice of Cruella, the original voice of Cruella. So I like how they've kept that trend.
I like the idea.
It helps for me it helps to make the movie feel a little more grounded and especially
They
with
didn't reference the old Snow White in Snow White.
they couldn't.
I mean, I know that the original actress for Snow White was dead.
Yeah.
But this is gonna be like really sad because this is more recent.
Mm-hmm.
But Descendants, a movie that has much less budget.
Yep.
Still pays tribute. No, to Carlos. I can't.
In Rise
Voice.
of Red, yeah.
And they still manage that.
You're not wrong.
And I feel like if Disney really did care about the original Snow White, which they should, because the original Snow White is the thing that got Walt Disney to be what it is today, then they would have found a way, because we know, as Disney fans, as people who adore the creative departments, the other departments we have other opinions on, are brilliant.
Yep.
They could have found a way to call back to OG Snow White.
You're not wrong. They could have very easily have figured out a way.
Yes.
And even in like Mary Poppins Returns, like they'd had Dick Van Dyke come back to reprise a role.
Yeah.
And they actually had a role that was supposed to go to
Julie Andrews.
To Julie Andrews, but it was given to Angela Lansbury instead.
Which is still huge, by the way.
Yes, very much, considering she was also OG Mrs. Potts.
Love her. Sorry, you brought up Mary Poppins Returns, and now I'm just thinking about Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Always. Now, like, okay, we can't help it. Cruella, even though, like, it went, like, there's a handful of good things about this movie. I have a lot of issues with this movie.
I think the issues with this movie actually center around Cruella being a part of 101 Dalmatians.
Yes.
If Cruella was a standalone movie, like stripped of the 100 Dalmatians franchise, Cruella would have been
fine.
A better movie.
It would have been fine.
It would have been fine.
Still not great.
Still not the best movie.
I have a lot of issues. Even as a standalone movie, like 101 Dalmatians put aside, there are still a handful of issues I have. But to talk about the elephant about, like, in reference to 101 Dalmatians, this movie strongly fails to be a genuine villain origin story.
Can we start with the Dalmatians and work our way up?
We can start with the Dalmatians.
Because I feel like this movie makes me really upset when it comes to the treatment of the titular 101 Dalmatians. There was like 3, by the way. So there wasn't actually 101, which I'm kind of glad for. Because that's just a lot of dogs on set. But the whole thing is these dogs killed this woman. This innocent woman. And they make these Dalmatians vicious.
Yep.
And look, I know that animals can be vicious.
Yep.
I know this. We all know this as adults. But this was geared to young teens.
It's hard to say who this was actually geared to.
Fashion snobs. No, not fashion snobs. But it's Disney, so kids are going to watch it at some point.
Yep.
And look, when it comes to animals that you can have as a pet, Dalmatians are pretty popular.
Yep.
Have I ever seen one in real life as a pet? No. But I know that they're popular other places. And to characterize these dogs as this vicious and could, like, kill someone is not something you want to do for a brand. Especially one like 101 Dalmatians, where the dogs are the best part of the movie.
Yep.
And at least the animated ones. And in the live action ones are the comic relief.
It's not a way to set up
animals.
But also, like, on that too with Cruella, it doesn't make any sense how these Dalmatians and her and dogs, it doesn't make sense because Disney basically tried to do away with the puppy murderer.
Yeah.
Which I honestly have a hard time with because they made Cruella, one, have a dog of her own that she loved and cared about.
Yes.
But
and another dog that she had roommate syndrome with.
Yep. And then also basically took ownership of the 3 Dalmatians. And I have a huge issue with this because it completely destroyed the character she became. Because anyone as demented as Cruella is, any person who owns pets would agree to go from owning and loving a pet to wanting to basically kill that same type of animal
Is extreme.
is an extreme jump, even for someone as demented as Cruella. And the reason I have an issue with them trying to get away with the puppy murder is because it feels like a disrespect to the character. Because with Maleficent, they expanded upon Maleficent.
They did.
And Megan knows this very heavily. My opinions on the Maleficent movies is that I actually like the movie until it hits the timeline of Sleeping Beauty. Because everything before the timeline of Sleeping Beauty is completely brand new. And like the storytelling around that really bad incident between Maleficent and King Stefan where he took her wings, that is traumatic. It is dramatic. It makes more sense for her becoming who she was. Even if they took away a lot more of the darker parts of her, but that's a whole nother issue that we'll talk about in another episode. Cruella doesn't do that. Maleficent, they originally left her to be, curse the baby to death, sleep, whatever. There is no sense of Cruella wanting to be a puppy murderer anymore. They completely destroyed her motivation.
Yeah. Also, the time frames. Can we just talk about how, 101 Dalmatians is set in a very specific time.
It's in the book, it takes place in the late 1950s, early 1960s. So right when the movie released was actually the time period that it actually takes place in.
And then Cruella takes place in
about 10 to 20 years later, which doesn't seem like a lot, but technology-wise and trend-wise, you're talking smooth jazz to rock.
Yeah.
And even the soundtrack of the movie was really badly done because they would pull out all these modern, edgy songs that wouldn't make sense or that wouldn't have even existed in the 1970s, let alone London 1970s.
Yeah, everyone tends to forget that this is a very British movie.
And yet they very much threw in America.
I appreciate how, this is going to sound really sad, that Emma Stone was still British.
Yep.
Because we had Roger in the live action 101 Dalmatians. Who was it?
He didn't even try to have a British accent in the OG live action.
And listen, this is coming from someone who can't do accents besides my own.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, the timeline is what bothers me the most.
And the end credit scene.
The end credit scene is the cherry on the cake for why I hate this movie, because the end credit scene shows Anita and Roger answering the door, and they get Pongo and Perdita from Cruella.
Yes.
This is dumb.
And then why I'm so confused is Roger starts writing Cruella de Vil, the song.
Yep.
And I'm like, in your version of the events, Cruella didn't do anything.
No.
Your puppies weren't born. You don't, you know of Anita.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Darling is a cool last name.
Isn't that the same last name of Lady and the Tramp's adults?
No, I think Darling is the wife.
Wait, no, it's Peter Pan, the family.
The Darlings, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think they're related?
In my head canon, yes.
But no, on top of it all, back onto them getting rid of the puppy murderer, it makes me so upset because actually in the OG animated 101 Dalmatians, we don't know why she all of a sudden wanted the puppy coat. In the live action OG, they told us.
Yes.
Because she saw the design, she saw Perdita or something like that.
Yeah, she saw the picture of her dog, yeah.
And all of a sudden fell in love with the look of the fur.
Yeah.
OG animated didn't tell us this at all.
Yeah.
She just wanted the puppies. Didn't say why.
And then we assumed it was for coats.
We learned it was.
Yeah.
But we never saw something that sparked that. And so this movie would have been a really good chance for us to have that be the last scene of her seeing a design with 101 Dalmatians and just be
oh, and have that be the unlock.
And have that be the ending of the movie, because that's a perfect setup. But no, we want to get rid of the puppy murderer, because that's the thing we're going to change out of this whole movie.
Wait a second. Hold on. Let's rewind, because I'm having a flashback to the movie where there's Artie singing and Horace is playing the guitar.
Apparently, he can play electric guitar.
And I don't know if he's doing it well or not. I think it's not supposed to be good.
It's not.
And then there's that one guy on ox. There's horse, and then Jasper's doing like the sound manipulation.
Yeah, he's doing this. He's
soundboard.
Yeah.
Sorry, forgot what it was called for a second. And then she comes out in the Dalmatian coats.
Yep.
And I just want to say, if that lady literally thought that was made out of Dalmatian, she should go get her eyes checked.
Honestly, yeah.
Because it does not look furry at all.
No. It looks more like a cow.
It doesn't look furry.
Nope.
It looks, you know what it honestly looks like? Stamp art.
Yeah.
On fabric.
Yeah. As a standalone film, the other issues I have with this movie is that I saw what it wanted to do. I just don't think it did it well. Because they tried to have the Baroness being Cruella's mom be like this huge twist.
Yes.
You could have removed that fact of the movie and it would have been the exact same.
I think the reason why the Baroness had to be the biological mother is because at the beginning of the movie, they make Estella an orphan.
Yeah.
She needs to get wealth by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
You know the easiest way to make an orphan extremely wealthy? To get them adopted by a wealthy billionaire, or go the Annie route, or have them secretly related to someone who has a lot of cash, aka the Harry Potter route.
You're not wrong, but Cruella was a booming fashion star.
Listen.
And she was already dead set on taking out the Baroness. So
it would have been even cooler if she worked up to her own wealth.
It would have, but again, you take out that fact, nothing changes. Because she would still try to kill the Baroness for killing her own mom.
Yes.
Or at least who she thought was her mom.
Yeah. Well, in every sense of the word, this person raised her.
Yeah.
Taught her morals, did all those things, took her to school. So that's mom.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, it bothers me that they tried to make this big twist, but they never even tried to allude to it or, show any weirdness. We've seen twists like that before, I'm actually your parent.
Yeah.
And it'd be done so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, my other issue is just, this movie has 3 montages. How bad of a movie do you need to move things along to have 3 montages?
I can understand it making close montage. But again, we're going to go back to the one where back to back to back, where Estella as Cruella ones up the Baroness with those really cool fashion statements.
Yeah.
That should not have been montaged.
No, but it was. And then you had the montage of them kind of trying to get up to that final plan. And I would have preferred, you know how in Knives Out?
Yes, I love Knives Out. I'm sorry.
The original one, we had that step by step of Henry, the guy who died.
Yes.
Telling Marta what to do while at the same time we saw her doing it.
Yes.
I would have preferred a sequence of events like that where it's Cruella.
Thrombey.
Yeah.
Harland Thrombey.
I couldn't remember the first name. I was about to say Henry Thrombey.
Sorry, it was going to bother me if I didn't say it out loud.
But I would prefer something like that where it's Cruella is laying out the plan and you see the parts of it unfolding. And then you get to the event and you're everyone's wearing the Cruella stuff.
Yes.
That would have been a much a cooler amping up the stakes type thing. You got to create that tension. Even in music, you got to have tension before you get to the release because it makes the release that much more satisfying.
You know what this kind of reminds me of? You and I watch a YouTube couple called Evan and Caitlin.
Very much so.
And one of their episodes that we watched recently, I don't know if it came out recently, they were having a lot of montages. And Evan and Caitlin talked on camera to their audience. They're like, we know that this is really montage heavy. And we wondered what is the correct amount of montage for us walking with you during those steps and us just showing you that it got complete.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like show and tell is a thing.
Yep.
Show, don't tell is a thing. But if you show and don't tell enough, it kind of falls on its feet.
Yeah, and I feel like they just wanted to just waste so much of the time of this movie just trying to have the conflict between Cruella and the Baroness. Like, you didn't need to go as heavy. Like, we get the picture. They're not going to like each other.
Yes.
Or, like, there is going to be that conflict naturally. But, like, we don't even understand where the Baroness somehow gets the idea that it's Estella. How did she make the connection? There was no, when we think about, like, there was no weird thing out of place. Nothing show her trying to figure it out. It was a weird random jump. It just came out of like, grab Estella. Wait, why? Why?
Okay, in my head, the reason why Cruella figured it out was, remember that dress where I was like, oh my gosh, moths.
She figured it out before then.
Then I don't know.
Because it was that fashion show where she told the butler, grab Estella and lock her up. With that sequencing of this movie doesn't make sense. They had these random jump to conclusions without giving a proper, like, build to it.
I want to watch, like, the person who made the Knives Out make this movie.
That would be interesting.
I know, right?
Yeah, and then don't even get me started on the issues with young Cruella.
I liked the actress of young Horace, young Jasper, and young Cruella.
Yeah.
I think that those children actors did a fantastic job.
Yep. They did really good, all things considered.
I think that young Cruella and Estella, because they're like the same actors, had a really hard job.
They did.
And I know Emma Stone also had a really hard job, and she pulled it off super well. But younger kids, it's going to be harder to act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My issue with the school age parts is, like, one, again, they threw Anita there randomly and then had this, like, multi-decade long break, it seems, where they suddenly get back together and are all chummy, which is just weird. Can you imagine running, like, let's say, like, you and your childhood bestie didn't, like, you stopped seeing each other in, like, 3rd grade. And then, all of a sudden, like, 20, 30 years later, you cross paths again, and it's, like, all chummy again.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be the case.
No.
I can think of a number of childhood people where it's like, oh, it's you. Okay.
Especially if they were like a troublemaker that always pulled me into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be my first thing to be like, oh yeah, let's get back together.
Yep. And honestly, hear me out if this is a dumb take. Cruella / Estella got heavily bullied in school by boys.
Yes.
And I think if they were trying to go for a more if they were to try and go for like a more feminist approach for this movie, I would have found it super interesting if it was a male fashion designer that she was taking down.
Oh, that would be much more interesting.
Considering it would have been like, oh, you were bullied by boys your whole life, but yeah, you got in trouble and they didn't.
Yeah.
So, like, I can see that kind of route, especially with fashion being a more rebellious tool.
For women especially, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Against men,
I could see that being, like...
That would have been such a cool...
Mm-hmm.
I'm imagining, like, the pockets thing, because pockets were originally, like, hidden under layers and layers of dresses.
Yep.
And it'd be, like, the closer they got to, like, our form-fitting is, like, the more rebellious it is.
Yeah. And, like, yeah, that being, like, Cruella's rise to being a fashion designer and, like, especially, like, with, like, women's fashion as well. Because look at the dress she wears in 101 Dalmatians.
It's, like, super form-fitting.
Super form-fitting, no sleeves, like, all kinds of ankle.
Oh my gosh, what are we in Victorian times? Honey, then don't look.
But, like, I don't know. I feel like if they had to go down a route of how they wanted to modernize like this kind of movie, this kind of character, that would have been a better route to go. And especially with, like, the luxuriousness of furs and stuff. Like, what was the method of getting a furs in, like, a good old-timey England? Husband buying you a thing of furs.
Yeah.
But here you have a woman designer.
Listen, I hear you, but in my head, I heard poison the jam them. Do you have any chloroform? Bash him in the head.
Yeah. Every time we get on that part, it just makes me angry about this movie. Because, again, I can't stand how they fundamentally
Changed
changed Cruella.
from being a dog. Look, I understand it from we live in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that, maybe having one of your villains being a dog murderer isn't quite tasteful.
No.
But I feel like, now hear me out.
You're getting into a topic I was going to ask.
I do not like dog murderers,
Mm-mm.
but I feel like if you're going to put a spin on 101 Dalmatians, I don't know if doing Cruella was the way to do it. Unless you really are like, hey, we're going to really do a horror series on the psychology of the villain, not like cinema theory, therapy-esque, but really dive into Disney does horror.
So I had two different thoughts
Yes.
that popped into my head. One of them was another idea of how they should have done it.
Yeah.
Because you know, I would have found it you know how in the sequel live action there was that French furrier, Peltier, whatever you want to call it, and stuff, and he and Cruella kind of team up and stuff. I would have found it super interesting if Cruella was the apprentice of someone that was the beginning of making furs really big in London and stuff. And they were a villain in this own story, but Cruella being the apprentice never saw them as being a villain. And if at the end of the movie he would be arrested, taken away, whatever, and Cruella settles into her being into taking over doing furs and really bringing furs into the limelight officially as a female designer and finding a sketch he never got to work on, which was the Dalmatian coat.
Mm-hmm.
So where it's now you have an embodiment of a paternal or a parental figure training her to make her the furrier, the Peltier that she becomes in 101 Dalmatians.
Interesting.
Especially since in 101 Dalmatians, the live action version, you see that she's very much invested in furs, because of the tiger, and they much more established that part of her.
Mm-hmm.
So she loves furs, lives for furs, will die for furs.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think that'd be a much more interesting, bringing her into the character we know her to be. Then the other thought, leading more down discussion about Disney with this movie. How do you feel about the fact that they saw this character, wanted to do an origin story, but then fundamentally changed it, assumingly because being a puppy murderer is bad? Because the way I see it is it kind of shows Disney being scared to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at any Disney movie we grew up on, it doesn't matter what the villain was doing that was bad. No person was under the question of, because the villain's doing something bad, the kids are going to do that. There was no question about it. We knew who was good. We knew who was bad. There was no question about it. You had someone who cursed a baby to death. Someone who plotted the killing of his own brother. A puppy murderer. No one looks...
Killing of his own brother?
Scar.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking Tarzan and
You had Bambi.
Oh, yes.
The villain in Bambi was your average hunter who killed Bambi's mom. If Cruella is indicative of anything, if we were to get a live-action Bambi, they would probably get rid of the hunter altogether. Because killing animals is bad. But it was natural. Hunters hunt. There are people that do get furs and wear them. There's a lot more regulations now.
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts on it. We're not going to touch on it.
But it bothers me so much that they felt like this was taboo in today's world. When they have to understand, when it comes to morals, there's nothing. If you're having a villain do something bad, It's kind of the point.
Okay, I have a few thoughts, so I'm going to rant for a minute.
Please do before I go again.
So I want to say this is a Hans Christian Andersen quote, where like fairy tales are made for morals, right?
Yep.
And so is like 101 Dalmatians a fairy tale?
No.
No, but like it's set, like the way that Disney set it up is kind of like one.
Yep.
Most Disney movies are set up as a fairy tale, not because they are told in a fairy tale way, but because they are trying to import a moral.
Mm-hmm.
Some movies overstate it over and over and over until you're like, we get it, Disney.
Raya. Looking at you, Raya.
And then some others are more understated.
Mm-hmm.
But Disney is known for like having morals in their movies.
Yep.
And I feel like on one hand, they're like, we still have to keep doing that. And I feel like maybe this is just something I've noticed is when Disney does live actions, most people are like, don't do a 1-for-1 rehashing of the same movie that we already have.
Yep.
Do it differently.
Yep.
And look, I understand that. I don't want to watch the Scary Lion King movie.
No, no one does.
No one does. And so they're trying to do something different. But there's a slight problem that we saw in Mulan. In animation, we can like brush on topics without really getting into the nitty-gritty.
Yep.
We know, and we knew in 101 Dalmatians, the animated version, that she was going to kill these puppies.
Yeah.
But we were too focused as children on the dogs trying to get through the hole in the wall.
Yep.
Like the attention was, are they going to escape? Not the absurd reality of like them getting killed.
But you always knew they had to escape because something was going to happen.
Yes. Hear me out though. When Disney started doing these live actions, they had to basically come to the reality of like their villains are called villains for a reason. Casting a baby to death and watching a live person doing it is an awful thing.
The problem is that the scene was in that instance, the scene was the same. They just changed a word.
But like, as we were talking about, like killing their brother, an awful thing to do. When you put those, we can brush against it in animation because we can direct your attention elsewhere.
Yeah.
When you have live action, especially if we want to expand upon the original story, Cruella was going to get dark. And like I said earlier, it'd be great for a horror film. Mm-hmm. Disney doesn't do horror.
No, they don't.
They don't do horror. And would I be interested in what they would do for a horror movie? Yes. But is that what this is about? No. So my guess is they were like, okay, we have some sort of contract obligation to do something with 101 Dalmatians. Or someone in the creative director, like way above the writers, was like, we're going to do something 101 Dalmatians related. And they're like, huh? And so they had to come up with an idea on how to make Cruella not going to murder puppies because people genuinely tend to like puppies. And they had to figure out a way to make her more likable and less murdery.
So,
do I like it? No. Do I understand why from a business perspective? Yes. But I think when you take away what makes a villain, and you make every character morally gray, it becomes really messy storytelling-wise.
It creates muddy storytelling. And to make sure I understand you correctly, like, so basically what I'm hearing is like the reason in your mind why they would have to change something like that is because of the medium that they're using. It's not animation, it's live action. So it's real people doing it.
Real people and real animals,
It's the difference between watching Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd shooting each other versus a cop show.
Yes.
Which I get. I think the reason why it comes in as an issue for me with this movie specifically is because we're not asking her to murder puppies.
Yeah.
We're asking for what made her get to that point. She can be a furrier. Wearing furs is a normal thing. Generally speaking.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have to see the murdering of the animals. We don't have to. She's going for furs. If you're an adult, you know what that means. If you're a kid, Fur. It's fur.
And I think
But like getting to that point of where she's like, I want a Dalmatian coat. That's a whole nother that's the prep we needed. That is what especially when you look at the live action 101 Dalmatians that already exists. That didn't stop. The medium didn't stop them, and they made Cruella worse.
I know they did. I think the other problem is, and I agree with this, is most people who are educated on the fur industry can tell you that raising an animal just to kill for fur is inhumane to the animal.
Yeah, it's unethical.
It's unethical. Yeah. And it's really tragic.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a part of me that wonders if an executive at Disney was like, we need to recreate Cruella and we need to not have. Because did you notice the lack of fur?
Yep. There was no fur.
There was. So I'm wondering if one of their prompts was there can't be fur.
But we still have like faux fur for a reason. Or like fake versions of it.
I know.
It just really bothers me because it feels like they were scared of their own shadow. And I feel like Disney fails to recognize Cruella is an adored villain without her needing to be changed.
Yeah.
She didn't need to be changed for people to love her. People love her anyway because she's a dramatic queen.
I love her because she's just the opposite of me.
She's a fun villain. Even if she wants to kill puppies, she's a fun villain.
I loved her crazy driving.
Exactly.
I thought she was so funny as a kid.
People don't love her because she wanted to kill puppies.
No.
Everyone hates her for it. But she was so dramatic, had this flair, this elegance to her.
And the crazy hair.
Exactly. She was iconic. Everyone loves Maleficent because of the dramaticness.
You didn't invite me to a party, so I'm going to literally curse a baby.
Exactly. That's the spicy tea we want.
The other thing that I think about when it comes to live action movies is they try to make the villains more likable.
Which is funny because they are doing the opposite.
Sometimes we just like a villain to be a little petty and a little bratty, and that's it.
It's the cheekiness. I'm going to use Bluey terms. The cheekiness.
The cheekiness, yes.
Because people love Loki for that same reason. Besides the fact he's hot. Or so I hear.
Yes.
But, like, that's the thing. It's these, like, Frollo. Terrifying villain.
And that's also why they're never making a live Hunchback. Because that would be a horrible thing to witness.
But we all love the song Hellfire.
Because it's him being a dramatic B-word.
It's so good. And so when they make this movie, Cruella, and they take away and strip the villain of her identity, she's not Cruella. She's Estella.
I think what makes Cruella fun as a villain is that she's just so dramatic. Have you seen Cruella played at like the Disney parks?
Oh, duh. We saw her. She was all
fun.
over it.
She was like...
She was dancing.
Yeah. Cruella is like the fun aunt who is a little tipsy at the family barbecue.
Yes.
Who will tell it how it is.
Yes.
And also, you're like, I know you're not doing everything right, but I just like watching the train wreck.
Yep.
And the more that Disney tries to make these villain characters more gray and in the middle, I think they lose what makes part of them.
Yeah.
Okay, hear me out. I'm going to go on a little tangent.
Yeah.
There's a show, well-beloved, called Gravity Falls.
Yes.
Created by this man named Alex Hirsch.
Okay.
And there's this super cool character that everyone on the creative board loved named Wendy.
Yep.
And so usually when TV shows love a character, they dedicate a whole episode to that character.
Yep.
And they did the same thing in Gravity Falls with like Seuss and Grunkle Stan and Dipper and Mabel. But when they tried to write a show around Wendy, they realized that if they wrote any episode that just is surrounding her, then she becomes less interesting.
Yep.
And I feel like that's what makes Disney villains so great.
Because you just see them for what they are, and it's just great.
We come for the petty drama. We come from the songs that make when you're having a bad day and singing about like being surrounded by idiots.
And it really speaks to the fact, like, because this is our last episode in our 101 Dalmatians, and this is the third live action Cruella we've seen.
Yes,
Technically second, because this other two were like
the same. Yeah,
like they were
the same, literally the same actress, same continuation of her like story.
And we never once said a bad thing about her because she did great.
The actress in that character did pretty good.
The actress was great. The character was exactly what we expected Cruella to be.
Yeah.
Like, she captured the disdain towards Roger super well. Her being a fashion goddess, loving furs, that was a central part to her character, especially in the sequel one, where you actually saw how many furs she had.
Which is
a crazy amount.
Yeah.
They captured the essence of the character. Even if it was a remake, we've seen in remakes where they seem to lose the essence of the character. Snow
White. And I feel like Gaston a little bit. Yeah. When he tried to tie Maurice to a tree and leave him for dead.
Yeah, but here, with this new trend of how they're doing these movies and these villains, they just completely lost her. She was no longer Cruella.
Yeah, I think would have been more interesting if I had to throw my hat into the ring and someone was like, okay, Megan, create like a spiritual successor to 101 Dalmatians. The descendant of Cruella. Uncovering, but I think like a descendant, like trying to uncover what happened to their great-great-grandmother. And trying to piece together her history.
Interesting.
I never said it had to be a movie. It could be a really cool, like, series.
I think it'd be interesting, but I think it'd be hard considering, technically, we saw a descendant of Cruella, aka her own son, Carlos.
I forgot about the descendant series for a second there.
Yep, so.
But, like, I feel like there are so many cooler ways they could have done it without losing.
It's true. Well, like, even on that point with Descendants, we only saw Cruella once in the Descendants series in the first one. And even she had that same manicness that we knew and loved.
Yes.
Because like, I remember Maleficent was like, every sneezing Dalmatian that kept your clutches. And she goes, but they didn't get the baby. Like, she still had that same manicness that we know of her. And I think this was a failed reimagining. That's all I got. Like, we can go in circles with this.
I really would have loved a world where the Cruella we know was stripped from the IP from 101 Dalmatians. It was just let to become a kind of like Devil Wears Prada about fashion and rebellion.
Interesting. Also, I've never seen Devil's Wear Prada.
Me neither, but this is what I've just been told. I would love like just a fashion romp. I think that would have been really interesting as a premise.
Yeah.
And I would have loved if, like, hear me out. Like, if they just nodded to Cruella de Vil. Just, like, and just had, like, the picture from, like, the live action 2 with the hood, just, like, on the wall somewhere.
Yeah.
Or something. But, like, not have it be about Cruella.
Yeah.
I think it would be cool.
Yeah. Okay, friends. That being said, I think...
What's your favorite version of 101 Dalmatians? Is it Cruella? Is it one of the live actions? Or is it one of the animated? You must tell us in the comment section below. Or else you will not get a hug from your favorite pet. I said it.
Oh, it's weird. Okay. But yeah, tell us which movie in the 101 Dalmatians franchise is your favorites. And tell us your thoughts on Cruella from Cruella.
Did you love her? Did you hate her?
Or was she...
Did you think her hair was weird?
Yes.
Which one was the wig? Was it the black and white hair? Was it the red hair? I lost track.
Yeah. Anyways, bye, friends. We'll
Bye.
see you for season 3 in the fall, but also check out our Jonas episodes as they come out throughout the summer.
Yeah.
Bye, friends.